All right, guys, I am at a really, really nice church. If you look behind me, there are tons of mountains. Thousands of people go here. Very nice church. So last week, one of the reasons why I'm going to this church is because we are on the same page. We are. Because I do a lot of work in the pro-life movement, it's very important to me to be in a community where the church is very outwardly focused. So I had a couple emails last week that went out, and I was like, sorry, just trying to get comfortable. I was like, okay, so this church has been very generous. So appreciate this church. I mean, they helped me with a car payment when I got here. I think it was a couple car payments when I got here before my car broke down. Very generous church here, right? So we had a conversation. This church is very, very rich, and we had a couple conversations. And I felt like there was a little bit of negativity from a couple people. The conversation was not broad enough, because last month I only had one night of work a week. So I'm like, I got to make sure that I'm going to be okay for this month. So I had talked about, just asking for assistance with something, and the conversation wasn't really broad enough. It wasn't big enough. It was just kind of, well, we already helped you, and, twice or something like that. So that's all we can do, without a conversation of what was really happening with my hours being cut. So I said, well, they said, this is our policy. And I said, well, I'm going to challenge your policy. Why does it seem hypocritical that you can ask for money every single week from people and have $10 million or whatever to build a new building, but when people ask you for help, there's a policy there. So, I said, I'm going to challenge your policy, and I chose to do that today. So I talked to the pastor, and he was very, very good at actively listening. And I said, this was the situation with this person and this person, and I told them, I'm going to challenge your policy. So he listened. He was very patient, and it's not even about the money. It really isn't. It's about what type of conversations are we having in the pro-life movement? Are we having conversations that really help women? Or are we just, as I told him, I've talked to churches that are just like, hey, unless you're a member, we don't help you. Now, one of the biggest arguments in the pro-life movement is, why am I going to have kids if nobody's going to help me? If I'm going to be left a single mom or whatever, and I have no help, who are you to tell me that I should have my kids? So that's like the biggest argument for killing your kids, right? So I told him my perspective. It was just a really healthy conversation. I told him, this is what I see on my side when I call about resources for moms. And I could be anybody on the street, and I'm okay now. I have 2 jobs, I have a vehicle and everything. And I'm not asking for help now, because I'm fine. I have plenty of work now. I was talking to someone yesterday at a business meeting of how work has now picked up in Colorado. But I'm like, last year at this time, I couldn't even find work. It's been really difficult to find work over here. And everything's opening up now. Plenty of jobs now over here. And he's like, I think we have more jobs here now than New Hampshire does. Because I'm like, I went to New Hampshire and got 3 jobs in 1 week. Over here in Colorado, I can't even find work. So when we've had a hard time finding work, or, our hours have been slow, or for whatever reason we haven't had work, you should be able to go to churches, right? So we've had conversations of how sometimes life just keeps happening. I had a missing son, and it's hard to work sometimes when you have a lot going on and all this stuff to stay focused. So, so we had a bigger conversation, and, it was really good. It really was. And I said, I just want to make sure that we are on the same page. If I'm coming to this church, I want to make sure that we are not just looking at helping corporations or organizations, but we are helping individuals enough. That includes the pro-life movement, the homeless. What are we doing to help people more? So definitely on the same page here. And that's what I've been looking for, not only doctrinally, and that's really all it should be, is doctrinally. If you're on the same page doctrinally, Jesus is the one who says, whoever gives a cup of water in my name gives a cup of water to me. So if we should be looking, and this is what he said, we look for opportunities. We should honestly be looking for ways to help people. And, so I didn't even tithe this morning. There was a homeless guy on the side of the road who had a sign and he was hungry. And I helped him. We should be looking for opportunities to help people. We should not be, as Christians, there's no room for stinginess, none. We should be the most generous people because God has given so much to us. I mean, he died for us. We are going to heaven. It's all about his blood, right? And he died for us, and we should be the most joyful and the most happiest and most generous people in the whole entire world, and we should be known for that. So not just with money, but with time too. So I am headed over to a friend's house. She goes here to this church, and I'm like, look, I need some help with this whole thing at work with learning all my wines. She's a wine consultant, and I'm like, I don't like wine. And she's like, well, the only way you're going to be able to really learn it, Melissa, is by tasting wine. So we'll have some wine tasting at my home. So I'm going to head over there. Very generous. I mean, she's extremely busy, and she's making time for me today to help me with my work. My work kind of changed their standard once I got hired and said, okay, we're changing the menu. We're doing everything different. And I'm like, look, this is my first day on the job. Can you give me some grace? So I have a menu test this week, and I'm like, I'm not ready. There's no way. This is not fair. I'm not ready. So, but I'm trying. So I'm going to do this. But again, if we want to preach, women should have their babies, guys, and families should have kids. We really need to be developing communities where there's a whole lot of help for people. And that's just baseline, right? That's just your basic surviving. That's not even enjoying life at a level of, social life, friendships, being able to take a vacation, being able to have time off from work to enjoy life. This is just the basics. And now that I'm saying that, yeah, why don't we have more for women, for moms to have time off and enjoy vacations? I didn't really take many vacations. We took day trips when I was raising my kids, but we should have more. We should be able to have a different mentality with money, where people are really using money as a tool to improve their lives, and that's how money should be used, guys. Okay, thanks for joining me.